I'm 85 years old, and if there's one thing life has taught me, it's that kindness is beautiful, but kindness without awareness can quietly become a doorway for people who only come to take. I learned this lesson very late, too late for some things, you see. When you grow up believing in loyalty, love, and helping others, you assume everyone else believes in those things too, but life has a strange way of revealing the truth, not loudly, not dramatically, but slowly, through small moments that don't feel right, moments you ignore because your heart wants to see the good. Today, I want to share 7 signs someone may be using you, not to make you cynical, but to help you protect the kindness that makes you who you are, because kind people should never have to feel foolish for caring. Sign number 1. They only come to you when they need something. This one is subtle. At first, it feels normal. Maybe they call you when they need advice, or when they need help moving, or when they need money or emotional support, and you help them, because that's who you are. But then one day, you notice something strange. They rarely call just to ask how you are. They rarely show up when you need something. Your phone rings when their life is falling apart, but when your world is quiet or heavy, your phone stays silent. I once had a friend like this. Every few weeks, she would call, and the conversations always started the same way. I didn't know who else to talk to, so I listened for hours sometimes. But when my husband became sick, she suddenly became very busy. That's when I realized something painful. Some people don't come to you because they care. They come to you because you are useful to them, and usefulness is not the same thing as love. Sign number 2, your no makes them uncomfortable. Kind people struggle with this one, because saying no feels wrong, but watch carefully what happens when you finally do. A person who respects you will accept your boundaries. They may be disappointed, but they will understand. A person who is using you will react differently. They may guilt trip you. I thought you cared about me. Or, you're the only one who can help, or the classic line, you've helped before. What they're really saying is this: your role in my life is to give, and the moment you stop giving, they suddenly feel uncomfortable. I learned this lesson when I was 60. My nephew used to ask for money, small amounts at first, then larger ones. One day I gently said, "I'm sorry, I can't help this time." The silence on the phone lasted a long time, and then he said something I will never forget. "Wow, you've changed." No, I hadn't changed. For the first time, I had simply drawn a boundary. Sign number 3, they rarely celebrate your success. This one hurts the most, because it reveals the difference between people who love you and people who simply benefit from you when something good happens in your life. Pay attention to their reaction. Do they smile? Do they feel proud of you? Or do they quickly change the subject? People who use you are comfortable when you are supporting them, but when the spotlight moves to you, their enthusiasm fades. Years ago, I started a small business from home. Nothing fancy, just something I loved doing. Many people congratulated me, but one particular person said something strange. "Must be nice to have time for hobbies." It wasn't a hobby. It was something I worked very hard for, and in that moment, I realized she had never truly seen me as someone with dreams, only as someone who helped her dreams. Sign number 4, they disappear when you need support. Life has seasons. Some seasons are bright, others are painfully heavy, and it is during those heavy seasons that you discover who truly belongs in your life. When my husband passed away, many people came to the funeral. Many said kind words, but after the first few weeks, The house became very quiet, and the people who once needed my help the most suddenly became distant. That was the moment I understood something important. Some people love your strength, but they don't want to be present for your pain, because pain requires effort, pain requires empathy, and people who only come to take rarely stay to give comfort. Sign number 5, you always feel drained after seeing them. Your body notices things before your mind does. Have you ever spent time with someone and afterwards felt completely exhausted? Not physically, emotionally, like something inside you has been slowly emptied. That feeling is not random. It's your heart recognizing imbalance. Healthy relationships leave you feeling seen, respected, energized. But one-sided relationships leave you feeling responsible for someone else's entire emotional world. And that is a heavy burden for any human being, especially kind ones. Because kind people rarely realize they have been carrying someone else's weight for years. By the time I reached my 70s, I began to see these patterns more clearly, and I realized something that changed the way I look at people forever. Most people who use others don't announce it. They hide behind friendliness, behind charm, behind words that sound caring, which is why the last 2 signs are often the most revealing. They are quieter, but once you see them, you can never unsee them again. By the time I reached my 70s, I began to see these patterns more clearly. The strange thing about people who use others is that they rarely reveal themselves all at once. It happens slowly, through small moments you almost ignore. A comment that doesn't feel right, a reaction that leaves you uneasy, a silence when you expected support, and over time, those small moments begin to form a pattern you can no longer pretend not to see. And once you finally recognize that pattern, 2 signs become impossible to ignore: the quiet ones, the ones most kind people overlook for years. So, sign number 6, they make you feel guilty for having boundaries. This one is very powerful and very dangerous for kind people, because kind people naturally want harmony. They want peace. They want everyone around them to feel comfortable. So when someone reacts negatively to a boundary, kind people often assume they must be the problem. But healthy relationships do not punish you for protecting yourself. Let me give you an example. Many years ago, a neighbor of mine used to stop by unannounced. At first, I welcomed her warmly. We drank tea together. We talked about life. But over time, the visits became constant: morning visits, evening visits, sometimes 3 times a day. One afternoon I gently said, "I'm sorry, today isn't a good time. I need some quiet." Her smile faded instantly, and she said something that surprised me. "I guess I'm bothering you now." It wasn't said angrily, but it was said in a way that made me feel guilty, as if my need for quiet was somehow unfair. For a moment, I almost apologized, but then I realized something important. Respectful people understand that everyone needs space. People who are using you often treat your boundaries like rejection, not because your boundary is wrong, but because it interferes with their convenience. And your life should never exist only for someone else's convenience. Sign number 7, they slowly make you feel less valuable. This sign is the quietest of all, and often the most painful, because it doesn't happen in one moment. It happens gradually, through small comments, small dismissals, little jokes that feel slightly uncomfortable. Maybe they say things like, "You worry too much. You're too sensitive. You always take things the wrong way." At first, you brush it off, but over time, something inside you begins to shrink. You hesitate before speaking. You doubt your instincts. You start wondering if maybe you really are the problem. But here is the truth I wish someone had told me when I was young. People who truly care about you do not slowly erode your confidence. They protect it. They respect it. They nurture it. If someone's presence consistently makes you feel smaller, that is not friendship. That is imbalance, and imbalance, over time, becomes emotional exhaustion. When I look back at my life, I don't regret being kind, not for a single moment. Kindness is not weakness. Kindness is one of the most beautiful qualities a person can have. But I do regret something else. I regret how long it took me to understand the difference between kindness and self-sacrifice, because for many years, I believed they were the same thing. I believed loving people meant always saying yes, always helping, always giving. But real wisdom came much later, and it arrived through a very simple realization. The people who truly value you do not require you to disappear in order for them to stay. Let me say that again. The people who truly value you do not require you to disappear in order for them to stay. Healthy relationships make room for both people, not just one. If you are a kind person, please don't change that part of yourself. The world needs more kindness. But remember something important. Kindness should flow from your heart, not be extracted from you like a resource. You are allowed to have limits. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to protect your time, your peace, and your energy. And the people who truly belong in your life will never make you feel guilty for doing so, because real love, real friendship, real respect does not grow from constant taking. It grows from balance, and that is a lesson it took me 85 years to fully understand. But once you see it, you will never look at relationships the same way again. And if you're wondering how I finally learned this lesson, it happened the day I stopped chasing people. I stopped calling first. I stopped over-explaining. I stopped proving my loyalty to those who never questioned theirs. And something surprising happened. The people who truly cared stayed. Everyone else quietly disappeared. And that was the moment I finally understood something at 85 years old. Peace does not come from having more people in your life. It comes from having the right ones.